much. Thank you. Hey! Okay. Oh, there's still 3 people here. Good. Love it, love it, love it, love it. All right, that's me. Don't look at the titles. They confuse myself too, so no problem with that. Look, this is a very important slide because I do not use teleprompter. Never use them and never will. So I may say stuff, and if I do so, it's not my fault. It's a divine inspiration, right? That's how we kind of say it. But let's go into something. You know that Gary always said, you need to know your soil to know your oil, right? Because the soil is a living cosmos that we need to have healthy plants. Now, your body is not different at all, right? You need a healthy soil for a healthy body. And today, we talk about gut health, like we have many times already. So, you know, the gut is alive, right? You feel it. Some of you are a little nervous, so you feel a little bit too much. You have to run too much. Most of you feel a little too little, so it doesn't come often enough. But it's a living thing. But what I'm talking about right now is not the bowel movement. What I'm talking about is the stuff that you just discard every single day. Hopefully, you just flush it down. That is pure gold. That brown stuff is absolute pure gold. And if I could give you a good gift, I would just give it to you right now, right? It's so valuable. You don't even can imagine. So whenever I speak, I want you to have an objective. So about a half an hour from now, I want you to know something. And today, what I want you to do is to start connecting the dots. Because you have heard already on this convention about the microbiome. So the question is, what is a microbiome? And I'm going to explain that to you one more time. When I talked about the microbiome 10, 15 years ago in the hospitals, all my other friends, the physicians, were rolling their eyes. Here comes the poop doctor again. I told them, this is so valuable. No, they flush it down the toilet, right? So today, I really want you to make those connections between this brown gold that you have inside you to your brain, to your immune system, to your gut in general, your digestion, to your thyroid gland, which runs your whole metabolism, to your immune system. That is so important these days. So I hope in a half an hour from now, you're going to be able to at least start making connection between some of these guts. Now, there's a reason why for hundreds of years, in multiple languages, people have always said, follow your gut. Follow your gut instinct. Oh, I have this sinking feeling in my gut. There's a reason for that. In old cultures, the gut was called the second brain. The old Chinese culture, old Ayurvedic medicine, old European cultures, they understood. These guys had no idea about the modern research that we can do gene arrays and look at the microscope. They didn't have that. But what they did, the shamans, the healers, they realized if your gut doesn't work, your memory is not working, your mood is bad, you're like in a bad mood all day long, you cry, you laugh, we don't know why. So this is all that stuff that you need to realize. And science is catching on. So here this article said there's a superhighway between your brain and your gut, and it holds a great sway on your body over humans. What does that mean? It has control. Your gut controls your brain to a certain extent, right? So how does that really work? Who sends these signals to the brain if there's such a control down here of what's going on up here? Well, let me tell you, these are little microbes. These are bacteria, these are viruses, these are fungi. This is the stuff in medicine we have been trying to kill for now about 100 years. And by doing so, we have basically committed suicide. We have done the wrong thing now for at least all these, I'm not saying antibiotics is bad, right? We can save lives in the right moment with the right antibiotic. But we have been killing microbes left and right, and you have done the same mistake. Your kid is playing outside, comes home all dirty and all that, and licks the finger of all the dirt, and you say, don't do that, and then you go and everything is sprayed down and some thieves on top of that, which is good. Every once in a while you need to do that. But they need to be alive. These microbes are everywhere, in you and on you. And so they're sending signals to the brain. Now, what's the importance of that? The brain, you think, is the command center, right? You're always thinking, oh, this guy is intelligent, he's brilliant, he has a great brain. Well, when it comes to the gut and these organs that you have there, and you have plenty of those, remember I was in the OR many times, you can reach down and pull out a bunch of stuff. When this is open, it's full of stuff. Well, guess what? 85% of all the signals come not from the brain, come from down here, go up to the brain, and only 15% of the signals go back down. So there's a meaning of that. So what is the microbiome? The microbiome, in very simple terms, are all those nasty little bugs, microbes that live on you and in you. The astonishing thing is, I mean, you have trillions and hundreds of trillions of those. You really look at that. When I look at you, and I don't really see you with all the light, I should put on sunglasses, right? But I just see you enough here. When I see you, about only 10% of you is a human cell. 90% of you is bacteria. So when I look at this group over there, you're just a bunch of nasty bacteria over there. And you're laughing here, you're just a nasty fungus. Right? You're not much better. So this is what we are. And when it comes to the genetic information, what we inherit from mommy and papi or mommy and daddy, only 0.5% from each, and 99% of the genetic information in our body comes from all these microbes. It's that important. Now, most of these microbes, you find them everywhere, but most of them are in the colon, in the gut. So there must be a reason, right? So why do we have all these microbes in the gut? Well, they help us digest food, right? They help us to repair and maintain the gut wall. We heard about this morning a little bit about the gut wall. They support your immune system. So if we have a pandemic going on where we're kind of at the end of it, hopefully, and your gut is not okay, do you think you can have something against this pandemic? I mean, it's your gut. You need to take care of your gut. We'll come back to that, right? They detoxify compounds. They produce vitamins that you have trouble eating, right, or producing in your body. They influence your thyroid. Therefore, they influence your metabolism. Whether you can lose weight or you only weight gain has all to do, and we'll come back to that, to the gut, right? They influence your brain and so much more. Well, let's look how we eat. I told you you need a healthy gut. This is how we prepare our food, especially here in the United States, right? We put fertilizer, herbicides, and pesticides everywhere. The most used herbicide, called glyphosate, is also the most used herbicide, fertilizer, or pesticides here in the United States. When you look up the patent of that stuff, they redo the patents every 10, 15 years to get a longer lifetime. One of the last patents said it's an antibiotic. So we are preparing your food, your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, with antibiotics. Okay? What do antibiotics do? They kill a bunch of stuff in the soil. You eat that stuff. Okay? What do you think? I just told you, your gut is full of what? Microbes. What do antibiotics do with microbes? They kill it. They kill bacteria. You have trillions of them. So you have this whole battlefield, and unfortunately here in the US, the allowable amount, yeah, there is something like that. The FDA, FTC, all these government agencies, or it's the EPA probably, looked at what is a maximum allowable amount that we allowed to poison you. And in Europe, that amount is way lower because they started banning this stuff because they're realizing how bad it is for the human body. So so you're eating really every single day, you're eating stuff that basically kills your microbiome. And so we need to stop doing that. But let's look at this golden, or the brown gold, right? Here's a study where they said, well, if it's really that important, and the brain connection is here, can we see this in babies? And so they took babies, and here I'll show you the study. They took 100 babies, and they looked at the poop after the first birthday and after the second birthday. And then they also looked at the brain size with some imaging, and they looked with some tests at intelligence. And what they found, those people, those babies that have a healthier microbiome, all these microbes, were way more intelligent. And there are other studies that show that at the age of 7, teenagers and even adults. So obviously this poop is really valuable that you have. It's a living mass. It's a mass full of intelligence, right? Well, let's go back to that food that we're eating. So here they did another study, and they looked in Africa where there's relatively healthy food, right? So a lot of nuts, plants, maybe an avocado. And they looked at, represented in the color pie chart underneath, they looked at the families of microbes, the microbiome. And you see with relatively healthy food, a lot of green families. These are healthy families. So if you have healthy gut, you already know you probably have a healthy brain, right? I showed you that data. Then we look at what happened in Europe and the US, where everything is sprayed on the field, and then it's over-processed before you eat it. Look at the colors. You have more red. Red are bad families. So what I'm telling you here right now, just to connect these dots, bad food creates a bad microbiome, which creates a bad body, okay? So watch what you eat. I mean, you knew that all along. This made in America, this is the biggest pandemic ever in the world, in the history of worldkind. Made in America, it started here. It's the obesity pandemic. It's going around the world. Wherever these American companies go, whether it's fast food or processed food, wherever they go, this is happening. Well, I already told you, when this is happening, you have a worse microbiome. And so that's not good. So let's have a look at that. So here you have, you know that, consuming a Western diet over processed food and all fatty food and all that stuff makes you obese in the first place, and too much sugar, right? So at this time, they looked also at the microbiome, and as you see, it was a bad microbiome. In other words, more of those red color bacteria that you don't want. So they said, okay, we'll do something. We'll take the poop, this valuable stuff, from one person. In that case, they started with mice, but we do this with humans. They took the poop from one person and just stuffed it in the same hole in the other person, right? With mice, that's easy. You take a catheter, you split it in. What happened? So they took obese poop from obese mice, put it into thin mice, and the thin mice gained weight right away. They became obese. So it's not just the food that said what the microbiome will do. The microbiome itself will tell you how the person will look like when it comes to obesity. So they did the same thing in the other way around. They took poop from the thin mice and shoved it up the obese mice. And what happened with the obese mice? She shrunk, became thin. So we call this fecal transplantation, right? It's being done in medicine mostly for gut diseases, and I can tell you the success rate of fecal transplants is way above 90%, it looks like, whereas pharmaceuticals in those gut diseases are far away from that. But I have already seen now clinics that do fecal transplants for body weight loss, you know. So at this point, I would say, since you know what a fecal transplant is, look to your left. Now look to the right. Did you see a person that somewhat looks attractive and maybe intelligent? If so, exchange your business card with them. Hey, I said, just exchange only the business card, not more. All right, you can do that later. It's still a family show here. Good. So that's what you need to think about, right? Well, let's look back into this thing, because I want you to connect more dots, right? So we now connected a little bit obesity, body weight, with the gut, with the microbiome. We talked a little bit about the brain. We may even talk a little bit more about the immune system and body weight, things like that. But let's look. I mean, you want to be beautiful. We have all these great products for your skin. It's not working without the right microbiome, right? So this is why when you look at Young Living products, a lot of the, like Inner Beauty collagen from last year, has tapioca fiber. It's a prebiotic. It feeds the bacteria, your microbiome, right? So you just need to realize that these products that Young Living produces are done with a lot of intelligence, which tells me that the people in the product development team have a quite good microbiome. Anyway, so let's look at that, skin, brain, and immune system. Let's have a look real quick at the immune system. What do you think is your immune system in your body? Well, your tonsils maybe, your appendix maybe, then you have some cells, right, that we manipulate with vaccines sometimes, and that's what you think is your immune system. But we have tissue in the gut we called like gut-associated lymphoid tissue. It's a complicated word. We just say GALT. Or we have something called mucosa associated, or mucosal, that's the gut wall, associated lymphoid tissue. We call that MALT. That's part of the immune system, and it's 70% of the immune system. 70%. So if your gut is not good, you're going to catch about every cold that comes along. And obesity is not really friendly to the gut, therefore not really friendly to the immune system. And so when we do lockdowns, for example, and in the first year of a lockdown, the average American gained 29 pounds, what do you think did that do to the microbiome of that person? It decreased the immune system because 70% of the immune system sits right there. Was that good to defend those things that are flying around in the air? Probably not, right? Let's go at something else. Old people, like me, very old people, seem to be healthy because otherwise we wouldn't get that old, right? So longevity, people that are 100 years and older, you find all around the world. We call these longevity zones, or blue zone, B zones, L zones, whatever. A lot of people went around the world, wrote books about that. In fact, Gary Young went to these zones. And one zone you're going to see is Hansa, Pakistan. That's where he found your einkorn. And in Ninja Valley, he found the Ninja Rio, where we got from Ninja Red and Ninja Greens now. So a lot of people did that, and they wrote books about it. And the books always say there's two common denominators for longevity zones. One would be it's high in the mountains, so people walk a lot, they don't cook a lot because not enough wood, they do a lot of raw costs, things like that. And then there are the islands. Obviously, they fish a lot of omegas that we just heard about, a lot of algae. They get up early, they work, in the good hours, they're not late at night, all that stuff. So they were very happy writing a lot of books. These are the two things that make you old, 100 years and older. But the science just changed a couple of years ago. They just found, through fecal transplants, that a good microbiome of young mice could stop the damage done in old mice, in the brain, in the eye, in the gut, just done by age and eating the wrong stuff. So if you take poop from a young mouse that is still healthy, and you put it into an old mouse that already has some memory issues and problems in the brain, it does not only stop it, it might reverse it. Okay? And then they did the same thing the other way around just to prove that it works. So they took poop from the old mice and put it in young healthy mice, and within weeks, the young healthy mice started showing dementia and other problems in the eye and the gut. So the microbiome is the one common ground all around the world for older people that get 100 years and older. It's the microbiome. And the microbiome really depends on your lifestyle. Lifestyle will do it, whether you're in a mountain or somewhere on an island. The lifestyle, a healthy lifestyle, healthy food, good for the microbiome, will make you part of those people that get 100 years and older. So, at this point, we also need to talk a little bit more about the brain. Whether you're laughing at my bad jokes or you're crying like need a lot of napkins, it all depends on your microbiome. So whether you're in a good mood today, it's your gut. It's not your brain. And so how does that work? How can this possibly work? Well, it's quite, so here's the big question. How does it work? How does the gut connect to the brain? And it's not that difficult. When you have an inflammation in the gut because you eat bad food, over-processed food, these microbes are damaged. They start producing inflammatory compounds. The gut wall is damaged. It all goes into your bloodstream and flows around your body. And these compounds like fatty tissue. And what do you think your brain is? It's basically pure fat. That's why omega greens is great for your brain too, because it goes right there and will stimulate your brain. So this is a gut inflammation automatically means a brain inflammation. This is the explanation that when you don't feel really well, when you have too much stool or too little, or it's grumbling, you forget stuff. Hopefully you still remember the name of your spouse, but you forget, or your children, but you forget stuff. Your brain starts not working properly, and that's the reason why. So when we look at the cut of a brain, we see one side a healthy and the other side not so healthy brain. right? And we look at a specific area that determines memory and mood, whether you're in a good mood or a bad mood. It's all sitting in the same place, part of that. And it's called the hippocampus. It's part of the limbic system. We, Young Living, love the limbic system because a lot of essential oils seem to be attracted to the limbic system and may do some stuff with your emotion, relaxation. It's all hidden in that kind of area of the brain. But when you have an inflammation, look what happens. There's a little red square on the healthy side. Look at the not healthy side. It's shrinking. It's going away. And when that shrinks and goes away, this is when you start forgetting the name of your children. You forget what you just said the same thing about 20 times in the last 20 minutes, so you keep on repeating yourself. And then suddenly you start hugging someone and you're full of love, and 2 minutes later you're angry at everybody in the world because your emotions are not stable. So in today's medicine world, you kind of lost choice. I mean, it's like game over. We don't really have something yet for that kind of a brain damage that is caused by age and bad food and overprocessed food. But not so fast. Here's research, and I'm going to read that sentence. Adult hippocampal neurogenesis is regulated by the microbiome. So that sounds pretty complicated. Let's put that apart. Hippocampus, we just talked about, memory and mood is sit there in part of the brain. Neurogenesis, neuro is the brain. Genesis, from the Bible, is creation. Well, I'm telling you here, neurogenesis, you can recreate brain in those parts where you lose memory and where you lose your control of moods, and this stuff is regulated by your microbiome. Oh my God. So here you see starting connecting the dots between the gut, your gut health, and your brain, and your memory, and all these things. So when we start below with the gut, well, mood and behavior, now we understand, right? Because it's growing back the hippocampus, so it stabilizes your mood, makes you feel better, all that. Stress, not a good thing. What happens when you have stress? Have you heard about stress eating? Well, a lot of things change, and then you eat the worst stuff, and the microbiome gets worse, and now you get even more stress on the other side. Start seeing how that stuff works? Neurotransmitters are those chemicals that connect you, the signals in your brain. They don't just go like electric everywhere. There's always like a little gap between, and there's a chemical called a neurotransmitter that jumps that gap for that signal to proceed. So we're going to show you. I'm going to show you how these neurotransmitters, where they're produced, and how they produce, and what they do to your body. And then, of course, when you start eating much because you're frustrated and you're stressed out, like people did in the lockdowns, then you gain more weight, you make your microbiome worse, which makes you even more stress, and all of that, and it's a vicious cycle. It's an absolute vicious cycle. And what we need to do with healthy stuff, and it starts with your healthy home, that's where you use your teas products and all that. It starts with these healthy supplements that we constantly, the product team, after Gary started that, now they're doing that for you. There's a reason for that. You need to take that stuff. You need to take this vicious cycle and turn it into a wellness cycle. That's what you need to do, and we're giving you all the tools to do so. Okay, yeah. So another little things I need to kind of tell you is the biotics of the gut. So what is a prebiotic? What is a probiotic? A prebiotic is a fiber. The probiotics are the living organisms in your gut, this fluid gold brownish thing, right? They need food. So prebiotic fibers are food. So that's why now we call a thing daily prebiotic fibers. It was launched now. It was the old ICP. You better take that daily. We should daily put the name daily on basically every product that Young Living produces, because these are daily products, right? So that's a prebiotic, is a fiber. It's food for the probiotic, which is the microbe itself. We have a wonderful product called Life9 that is full of probiotics. A synbiotic is a product that has both. For example, Ninja Greens, full of plant fibers and fermented plants, even mushrooms. And then because it's fermented, by definition, it also has probiotics, therefore it's a synbiotic. And now in the future, you're going to see more about postbiotics, which are metabolites of those little guys that are alive inside of you. And they produce stuff too. So this is a new market, especially right now in the cosmetic, that is going pretty fast. But your entire gut biotic system is really important for optimal gut health. It's important for your gut wall, everything. And if that's not really good, you have holes in the gut, And when you have holes in the gut, I told you, this whole inflammation goes on, your brain starts failing and all these things. So it's really important that you understand prebiotics, probiotics, and then when they come together, symbiotics. So let's look at this connection a little bit between those little microbes and the gut wall, right? We thought this slimy stuff that we have was just to make the stool pass through pretty easily, so you don't have to do all that, so it comes a little easier, right? But we found that it's not, the mucus alone is already tremendously important for the gut to not be leaking. So what is a leaking gut syndrome? Or, look at that. You see on the left a window that is pretty new, right? It has a glass inside, it has a wood frame, and it has silicone so the rain cannot come in. But over time, the silicone starts getting cracked, so the water seeps in, maybe the wood frame starts cracking, and the window breaks open, like when you see an old abandoned house, and the rain comes in. Well, it's the same thing with your gut. And when that happens, whether it's coming in through the little gaps between the cells, which will be the silicone sealant, or through the window itself, through the cell itself, all that stuff will go in your body and damage your body. So you don't want to have that. And so really, you need to watch your gut, all the microbiome. Now, let's go back to these neurotransmitters because they're quite important. We always think because they're in the brain, they're called neurotransmitters because they work mostly in the brain, that they're produced in the brain. Wrong. Most of these, they have names like serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, ghrelin. There's so many of those. Most of those, you're going to find out, are produced where? In the gut. So serotonin, the feel-good hormone, right? The ones that brings your stress down, makes you smile when I come to you and you smile and we make a picture together, all that. Well, guess what? 95% of that feel-good hormone is produced in your gut. So how do you expect to feel good and be happy when your gut is not okay? Right? Anxiety, all these things, feeling bad. Again, I'm coming back to the lockdown. We gain weight, the gut doesn't function, you don't produce serotonin. Now you feel very unhappy, you feel very stressed. Now you go into this vicious cycle. Really, really bad. Dopamine. 50% of dopamine is produced in the gut. What does dopamine do? Many things, amongst others. If it's too low, you're desperately trying to get it up. That's where mental issues come in and addictions. You try to find other things that raise it, right? All you need to do is to watch your gut. This is also the reason why during these lockdowns we had a 500% increase in mental health issues, right? It starts with the gut. We've always been saying that. Then you look at other things like ghrelin. It's a hunger hormone. What does that do? Well, you have anxiety, so you don't sleep very well. If you don't sleep very well, less than 7 hours, you're producing ghrelin. And ghrelin makes you hungry like crazy for sugars. And now you start eating sugar. So if you sleep less than 7 hours, that's just an easy trick for you to lose weight. If you sleep less than 7 hours, you gain weight. You have no chance because your hormone work against you. So you need to start sleeping 7+ hours. Probably the sweet spot would be between 8 and 9, maybe even 10 hours. The research is going full speed right now because they always thought 7 hours or 6 hours is good. No, it's not. It's not enough. Right? Then we have something called GABA. That's the stuff that calms you down. Well, guess what? It's produced partially in the microbes themselves. Of course, if your gut is not okay, you're going to be all nervous, right? You cannot be relaxed. Even if you do yoga, you need your gut to be good for yoga, right? And then you have heard about melatonin. You can buy it everywhere in the store now, supplement stores, right? It helps you sleep. And we all know it's produced somewhere in the brain. Did you know that 400 times more melatonin is produced in the gut? So if your gut is not okay, your sleep cannot be okay. And if your sleep is not okay, you gain more weight. And if you gain more weight, your immune system is not okay. And if all that works, your brain doesn't work, your memory doesn't work. Do you start connecting these dots? Right? I really want you to see that. And I want you to understand that this company is giving you products that people have thought a lot about it. Gary was very, very, very centered on the gut from day one. He didn't have $200 in the beginning, but he already had some old supplements. And what were these supplements? They were all gut supplements because he got it, right? Look at that. We have, like, again, this daily fiber now, right? Prebiotic fiber. We have Life 9. We have Ninja Red. When you have a bottle of Ninja Red and it stands there for quite a while, let's say a month or two, do you realize it has like a white bottom inside the bottle? That's fibers, prebiotic fibers. So even Ninja Red is good for your gut from that perspective. So many oils we know are excellent for your gut. Ninja Greens that we launched last year, it's just absolutely phenomenal product. Power Meal. Did you know how Power Meal, let's see my time, you know how Power Meal got created? Steven Seagal, remember that actor who's still around? He called Gary and said, Gary, I need a good protein to work out, and all the stuff that is out there is just so bad and full of sugar. So Mary and Gary visited Steven Seagal in his swimming pool in California, and that's Gary created Power Meal. And then a couple of years, so last year, we reformulated it to take out some more sugar. But that's, Gary was always after the health products. And we have absolute superstars here with Young Living, like Life 9. It's full of bacteria. And remember, we have like 17 billion with a B. Only 1 or 2 need to survive, and then they're going to divide, and it's going to go good for your gut. Another really good product we launched last year is Ninja Greens. It's a synbiotic. It has lots of fibers, fermented stuff, which is probiotic, and all these mushrooms. I mean, it should say daily Ninja Greens. This is something you need to take every single day. It's absolutely fantastic. And just by the way, we know that those who consume more than 30 different plants in 1 week have a much healthier microbiome. Imagine how your microbiome looks when you consume more than 60 every single day. This is what you have in Ninja Greens. And then we have this ICP that was now renamed in daily prebiotic fibers, so you understand what it is. It's food for your bacteria. It's so important. Look, there's just a super highway to health. And then there's no way around the gut. You just need to go through the gut to go to all these things. The microbiome is absolutely central. And I really hope that you start connecting the dots a little bit here, right? Because it's not your decision what you're going to eat tonight and tomorrow and all of that will make a big difference in your health. It's really that bad, right? And we all need help with this. We really need help. So if you're interested in this kind of topic and you want to hear more, I wrote a book about these kind of things, and I'll be talking tomorrow at 2 o'clock in the Seeds of Time and tell a little bit more about that, and we have a few books there that you can get to learn more. But just make no mistake, you depend on it. Your gut function depends on it, your immune system depends on it, your skeletal system, your bone, your cartilage, your thyroid function, your metabolism, your memory, your brain function, your mood, your emotions, your sleep, all of that depends on it. And mothers, your babies depend on it. They pick up your microbiome when you give natural birth. They pick up your microbiome, your breastfeed them. And for those who could not do either one, I'm sure you hug your babies once in a while and give them a kiss. That's when they pick up your microbiome. So if you make daily bad decisions, that microbiome will go over to your kid. And very fortunately or unfortunately, it attaches a tag to the genetic information of that kiddo, and that will inherit 4 or 5 generations down. So your decisions you're making today and tomorrow and after tomorrow will have an effect about 100 years from now in your family, if your family keeps on going. So what I'm just telling you here, your life depends on it, on this microbiome. And your supplements and your food and everything you do and all these beauty products. Young Living is all about wellness, fitness, beauty, and health. And this is what we're giving you with all the Young Living products, whether it's an oil, a beauty product, or a supplement, or anything else that we do, the cleaning products, it's also important. And I just want the last few seconds for you to appreciate what Gary did for you. Just look, we saw already a picture earlier today of these old supplements that he did very early on. It's called Comfort Tone, so you have a little more comfort when you sit on the stool. ICP, we just now renamed it to Daily Prebiotic Fiber. All these oils, all these power meals, these Inner Beauty Collagen, all these things that we create, tapioca fiber, we saw that it's in one of the products again, or two of the products. That is what you need. So appreciate what Gary knew, because he had the gut feeling before all that research came out. Thank you very much. Go and be healthy. Thank you. Thank you.